Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mickey, and in this video, I'll be teaching you how to start your own online English teaching business. So in case you're wondering why I'm speaking on this topic or what qualifies me to be speaking on this topic, I started teaching English online for online English teaching companies in 2021. It stopped working for me in 2022 for reasons that I state in the video that I will link down in the description box. You can check that video out after looking at this one. And in 2023, I decided to start my own online English teaching business. And today I teach people how to do the same thing because it has been a success for me and I want to pass down that knowledge to you as well. So if that is something that you're interested in, then please check the link down in the description box. But enough about that. Let's talk about the title of today's video. How do you start your own online English teaching business? So the first step in starting your own online English teaching business is identifying your target audience. Who do you want to teach? And simply put, I just want to know, do you want to teach children how to speak English, or you want to teach beginners how to speak English? Or maybe you want to teach adults, or you want to teach teenagers or IELTS preparation students. I'm going to write down the list down below so that you can choose carefully, like between these categories that I gave you. Who in those categories would you like to teach, right? Like I want you to identify that person. And then once you've identified that person, I want to know why you want to teach that person, right? So let's say, for example, you said that you want to teach adults how to speak English, right? I also want to know why you want to teach adults, because that's going to be really important in the long run. You know the type of personality that you have. You know what comes with teaching children versus teaching adults, right? Like I know, for example, that I'm not cut out to be teaching children. I do teach children right now, like in a physical classroom, and I think that's good enough, right? But it would be really hard for me if you told me that I have to teach students online, because I have such a hard time right now teaching children in a physical classroom, because I'm really not the best when it comes to classroom management, right? So I feel like it would be really hard for me to be trying to instill classroom management over the screen with the child, right? Because you have to make sure that they're sitting down and they're concentrating, and you constantly have to be like animated to make sure that you have their attention and all of that, right? So for me, like teaching children online is a big no, right? So I know for a fact that teaching adults is my thing, right? Like that's the ideal candidate for me. An adult is the ideal person for me. And I want to teach adults because I feel like adults, with adults, you don't have to instill any classroom management. Most of them know the importance of learning English. They know why they're here. So you don't really have to be, convincing them while you're teaching them that this is something that's important, right? Like they already know. But some of you may prefer to teach children because, I don't know, children are... you have the personality for children, like you like being animated, like that whole personality thing and all of that. So I want you to just answer that one question for me, like who do you want to teach and why do you want to teach that group of people? Now, the reason why this is so important, right, like identifying who you want to teach, it's important because I don't know about you guys, right? But I know that when I was still teaching for online English teaching companies, I felt like the more students that I have, then the better, right? Like it didn't matter if I was teaching adults or teenagers or children, because it like the more the merrier. Just whoever comes at me, like, let's go, like I'll teach you, because at the time it was just it was just what was happening in the industry, right? Still happening right now as well, but I think that's good for people that are still teaching for companies. I wouldn't advise that you take that mindset into starting your own business, because that's not going to work for you. The reason why you need to be able to target one specific group or like one specific age group of people is because imagine if you have teenagers that are coming to you, you have adults that are coming to you, you have children that are coming to you. You now have to cater to those individual people, right? Like if you have a child, now I have to go and sit down and think about how I'm going to teach them their ABCs, and I have to think about that, like, oh, okay, how do I make sure that I have their attention while I'm teaching them their ABCs and all of that, right? And then tomorrow you see an adult, and then the adult wants to learn this, and then the next day you see a teenager, and then the teenager wants to learn this and all of that, right? Like it's just too much work. You have to be constantly thinking about what you're going to be teaching each person that comes to you, and you don't have time to be doing that. Whereas if you're only just focused on one person, like that one individual person, then you can hone your skill and make sure that you tailor your service to that one specific person and you get better at teaching that one specific person, right? Because if you're teaching children, for example, the more children you teach, the better you get at teaching children. If you're teaching adults, the more adults you teach, the better you get at teaching adults. So that's why it's so important, because it saves you time and energy. Basically, you just focus on one group of people. The next step in starting your own online English teaching business is expanding on step number 1 and going into further detail about that person that you chose. For the purpose of this video, we'll just keep on making examples about adults because I feel like it's the easiest one and it's not going to get too complicated if I explain in this video. I do go into further detail about other categories, like if you want to teach children or IELTS preparation students and all of that in my course, but I feel like that's a bit too complicated to explain in this video. So for now, we'll just be focusing on adults, right? Let's say you are focusing on adults. You want to teach adults. I want you to go further and tell me the kind of adult that you want to be teaching. Like, I want you to get very specific on who they are. I want you to tell me, what language does this adult that you want to teach speak? Like, what's their native language? Do they speak Italian? Do they speak Chinese? Do they speak Korean, Portuguese? Like, what is their native language, right? That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to tell me, what country are they from, right? Are they from Brazil? Are they from South Korea? Are they from Poland? Are they from Singapore? Like, what's their country of residence? Like, where do they live, right? Because that's very important, like for time zone purposes and all of that. And then number 3, I want to know, what industry are they in? Are they in the healthcare industry, transportation, education? You know, like there's so many different industries in the world. I want to know exactly like which industry they are in. And once you've identified the industry, it should be easier to identify the profession that they are in as well, right? Like, are you teaching doctors how to speak English? Are you teaching astronauts how to speak English? Are you teaching teachers how to speak English? That student, who are they? I want you to go into detail, right? So I said I want you to choose according to their language, the country that they live in, their industry, and their profession. And although I did give you 4 options, I just want you to pick from 2 of those options. You don't need to pick from each category, right? Because that's going to be too much at the end of the day. I want you to go into detail, but I think you will find the ideal candidate if you just pick from those 2 categories. So I think for the sake of this example, the easiest one would be maybe to choose the language that they speak and the profession that they are in, right? So let's say, for example, the answer you come up with is, I want to teach Italian speaking doctors from Italy, right? Like, that's your answer. So in the first step, you would have to tell me what age group you want to be teaching and why you want to be teaching them. And then number 2, I want you to expand on who that person is, like go into further detail and come up with your answer as well. You can pause this video and think about that for a second. And when you have come up with your answer, please write it down in the description box just so we can engage and talk about it a bit more. And yeah, tell me who your ideal candidate is. So those are the first 2 steps in starting your own online English teaching business. For those of you maybe who watch this and you feel intimidated by picking that person, right? Like maybe let's say you want to teach psychologists or doctors and you feel like maybe you don't have the skills to teach doctors because what do you know about doctors, or what do I know about astronauts, Mickey, and all of that? Please don't be intimidated by that. I just want you to choose your ideal candidate, right? The rest we'll handle later. For now, just tell me who that ideal person is and I'll get you there. I'll prepare you well enough to make sure that when you do position yourself in front of those people, that they see you as their ideal teacher as well. Don't think about it too much. That's the first step in starting your own business. And if you can do just this one thing, trust me, I'll take care of the rest. Just make sure that you do today's homework and I'll see you again in the next video. Goodbye.